Hello.
There it is. You're
Hey,
late.
We're here.
we're here. We are indeed.
Arr.
Okay. I guess I'll start.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody, and welcome back to our Sunday night offering of Astronomy Edutainment, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show.
Yay.
Hey. My name is Chris Kerwin, the creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm also an amateur astronomer, a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to welcome back my two regular. I have to welcome back my two regular co-hosts this evening, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moon Shadow Observatory, beautiful Hampton. Paul, good evening, sir.
Hello.
And also welcome back to Mr. Mike Powell for the PFO Observatory here in St. John. Mike, good evening, sir.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
And we'd like to welcome all of you tonight from YouTube and Facebook land, and all of you who are joining us through the local Rogers TV network. Thank you so much for your support. Okay, so on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, now if we want to capture life in real time, we will usually use video. But if you want to see that capture in an accelerated format, we may use still images in a time lapse. A time lapse photography requires a lot of planning, from choosing the focus of your video and having the right equipment to which settings to use and scouting out your location ahead of time. And tonight we will be joined by seasoned time-lapse creator and local astronomer Tom Raithby, who to learn some of his tips and tricks to create these stunning scenes. Welcome, Tom, to the show.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank
Thanks
you
for
very
joining
much.
us.
Great to be on and chat with you guys.
Great to have you here. All right, also tonight, Vinyl Bud will return with another fine binocular target to enjoy. Yes, he will.
Yeah.
Yes, he will. You have an audience here. Paul will be delivering another interesting Rosanna's fun fact for us. Awesome. I'll have a quick look at some upcoming celestial events over the next week or so, and along with the reveal of some of your photo submissions. And it wasn't really the best of weather the last week or so, so we really don't have a whole lot of photo submissions again, but let's hope things are going to turn around here soon. So let's get started then tonight with tonight's program and to look at some of the important planning and techniques that goes into creating time lapse. So Tom,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. So yeah, I guess that's probably the place to start. It's for me, it's really about telling a story, and there's different ways to tell that story, and changing the time scale is one that I find really interesting. So there's lots of really cool features on your phone now where you can do things in slow motion, which really helps you see something that you couldn't see that was going too fast. And in this case, I want to go in the other direction. My interest is the time lapse. So to take something that normally would take maybe a long period of time and condense it down so that you can see things that that you might not have seen. So so anyway, it all starts out with you have an idea in your mind, what kind of story you want to tell, or what scene you would like to do a time lapse. So I do them in the daytime and in the nighttime. The nighttime ones are definitely more challenging. So, some more technical stuff, as well as, kind of finding your way in the dark. So lots to do there. And so part of that for me is, all of the night time lapses that I do, I wouldn't just go out in the dark and shoot a time lapse. I've been there in the daytime already. I've scouted the location. I've already done some test photos with my camera to see what lens, how wide a view I want to get. Do those things ahead of time. Make sure that I know where the edge of the cliff is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
That sort of
important.
thing. Yeah, it really can be important. In fact, I'll see if I can. I'll show you a couple of behind the scenes.
Should have permission to share there, I think.
Yeah, I'm just going to try to do this. So if I, so pardon my being a little slow with this. So can you guys see the picture now?
Just wait. There it is. Yep.
Yeah.
It's up.
Okay. Okay. So this is if you guys have ever been out along the coast, this is a spot about halfway between St. Martin's and Fundy National Park. That's Martin Head in the distance. So this is on the Fundy footpath near Goose Creek. This is actually at the edge of a cliff. And you can see a little bit there, but my camera's there. It's on the tripod, and you can see. I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's a string on it. So my camera and tripod are tied to that tree. You know,
Yeah, I see
because
it there in the
it's
bottom left, is it? Little
yeah, just
loop
just to
there,
the
yeah.
left, just to the left of the ball head. So anyways, it's just really important to do that kind of stuff. You know, to make sure the gear's secured. So now what I'm trying to figure out is once I'm in here, how do I go like to move the picture? So
Just go to one side of it or the other, Tom. Sometimes an arrow will pop up.
yeah, there we
Here.
go. Okay, yeah. So here's yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that, Paul. So this is the same setting. So you can see that the green strings are in the middle. You can see them where the tree's tied off. So there's actually two cameras. Um, you know, and one of the things that I would, tell anybody, when you're going out doing this, it doesn't always work. You know, sometimes you'll go out and things just don't go the way you had in mind. In this particular instance, the forecast was for a perfectly clear night. And as it turns out, it was perfectly clear inland. But on the coast, it was foggy. But it was dark and foggy, so I was not able to go back to my car. So I slept there, and you know when the fog blows through the trees, it drips. So you really do need a tent, even when it's when it's not raining. So anyway, so I got nothing for a video. Shot pictures, but it was fog. So so sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes it just doesn't work the way you think it will. So this is another one. I'll show you a video from this one. So this little wee tent. Don't ever go in a tent like this. Oh my God, the bugs! I could not believe the bugs got in the tent. It was, and then I'm reaching up, squishing bugs on the inside of the tent. And they all have blood in them now because they got me. So and in the morning when I wake up, there's a bit of condensation in there, and there's like blood running down the sides of the tent. Looked like there was a massacre in there, but it was just me. So so anyway, so yeah, so here I am, and in this particular scene, you can see I've got one camera set up here, my backpack and my tent. Over in the distance, on the far side, there's a patch of grass. It's just seagrass. I've got another camera set up, and it's facing towards me, and I can show you the two videos for those. So that actually turned out pretty neat. This is at Walton Glen Gorge, and it's one of those. This night, everything fogged up. I was not able to get any video at all, but in this case, you can see I've got the tripod set up, the green strings there. It's tied, so I don't lose my gear, and it's all wrapped in plastic. So so if there is dew, the camera and lens won't be damaged. So because as it turns out, we get dew often. So another at Martin Head. This is out at Duck Pond. This is one of my first time lapses. When I'm out, it's uh, I think it was early in the spring. There was ice on the cliff still. You could see the white in the distance. But anyways, I'm out in a snowsuit. And I've been out doing time lapses in the summertime with my snow pants on. It's when you're out in the dark and you're not moving around very much, it really helps to keep warm. On rocks. So, in this case, one of these is a video camera and one is a digital SLR. So there are different ways you can record, still images or a video and then change the speed. So again, another one at that Walton Glen Gorge. So this is over at Florida Beach.
Yes,
One of
sir.
the things here, we were just there a few weeks ago. Anyways, this one, you can see this triangular shaped, platform. It's a fabric. It attaches to the tripod. It's called a rock bag, and you put rocks in it. It just makes everything heavy, so the wind is a lot less likely to move the camera. So, because if it jiggles, the longer exposures at night will get blurry, so it doesn't work very good. So it's very pretty there. Some nights, this is a nice calm night. Some nights it's not calm at all. You never know. So, so this is sometimes I'll leave my gear out for the night and come back in the morning. So this is me coming back in the morning to retrieve my camera gear out on the lake. And you can't see it yet, but then you do.
Oh, wow.
Then you
It's
do.
yeah, it's completely frosted up. So so underneath is my star tracker that I'm using as just it just rotates slowly, but nice and even. So I use that a lot. I like that. It adds that motion to the videos.
Hmm.
So anyways, but you can see it there in the bottom. It's all covered in ice. So this is actually at Martin Head. If there was no fog, you would see Martin Head behind there. I thought that would be a really cool time lapse. And then again, the fog is something that happens often. Again, the rock bags here, the camera's covered in plastic to protect it. So this at Sealy Beach. This one's at Goose Creek. This is one of my favorite the time lapses that I've shot in the daytime. So this is on a boulder. The boulder's probably like 25 or 30 feet in diameter. It's a boulder at the base of a cliff. Anyways, if you climb up in the woods above and kind of dangle yourself down, you can drop down onto this rock. Again, you can see my neon green string there. I've got the camera tripod tied. So there's the camera. I don't know if you can see that the little thing sticking up
Yeah.
right in the center, sort of. That's the camera and tripod out there, on the top of that boulder. So yeah. So yeah, so there's a lot of different things, when I'm scouting out things that I'm looking for. For one thing, where can I go that'll be safe? A headlamp makes a huge difference. When I first started, I really tried hard to use the red lamp, but mine, when I try and push the buttons to get it to go from red to white, I can never get the thing to go the way it's supposed to. So anyway, so I usually end up with white. So one of the things that'll come in really handy on your camera, there's a little button that backlights the screen so you can see what the settings are. Anyways, you'll learn where that button is really quick because then you don't need your headlamp. So that's really convenient. So anyway, so that's a pretty handy tip I always found. So knowing where the lights are, bringing backup lights. So I think with that, I'm going to show, let's see. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try this video and we'll see what happens here. Okay. So this is going to be a daytime one. So can you guys see that video?
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not
there
yet?
it comes.
Okay.
It's starting to share here now. Yeah, there
we
it is.
are.
Okay. Okay. So this is Sealy Beach. And one of the things that I really like about time lapse is you can see things that, like, you can speed them up so you can see, like, what does it look like from low tide to high tide. It's out in our part of the Bay of Fundy, the difference between low tide and high tide is about 30 feet of height. So here, this is at low tide, and this is on the east end of Sealy Beach. And what I did is I actually set up two cameras. So this one's on the east end, and on the other end, I have another camera that's shooting at the same time, but from a different perspective. So when I put them together in a video, I can tell the rest of the story. So this is the tide coming up. You can see some people on the beach. So, it's 30 feet of height. It takes 6 hours to go from low tide to high tide. So 6 hours here in more like 30 seconds or a minute. So the time-lapse stuff, as you know, is a collection of photos. So there is no sound. So this is the other side. So the sound is added later. But this is from the other side. So this is looking east. So this is on the west end.
Those who are wondering here, it's a little bit choppy, and I think that's just because of how we're connected here. But I know I've seen these videos; they are very smooth.
Yeah.
The choppiness is
Sometimes
just
they are
our
that.
connection.
Yeah, the clouds. If the brightness changes through the video, the brightness is really hard to manage with clouds. If there's a gradual transition, it's good. But if it's not gradual, like, the clouds are really tough to manage. So.
That is so cool.
Nice, yeah.
So yeah, it's it's pretty exciting for me to be able to find those places and tell that story. It's it's just, for a lot of people, you wouldn't realize how big of a move there is for the water there.
Mhm.
So
Do you approach time-wise in terms of the length of your exposures that differently than you do at night? I would assume, because if you're looking at starting your video from where low tide to high tide, you know how long it's going to take. So
Yeah.
then you kind of figure out how many pictures you're going to need to show it.
yeah, there's different approaches, and sometimes I just kind of wing it, but the right way to do it would be say, okay, if I want 30 seconds of video, and a normal video plays at 30 frames per second,
Mhm.
so 30 seconds times 30 is 900 images.
Hmm.
So sometimes I will slow them down, like I don't have enough to, like, the story's going to go by too fast for me. So sometimes I'll slow them down and I'll actually create the video at 15 frames per second.
Mhm.
So, you know, I mean, the other side of that is if we said, you know, I wanted 900 photos in the daytime, we could do that with a really quick shutter speed. I could do that, you know, really like you could, as fast as you could push the button, you could get a picture. At night, a lot of the photos, like you know, especially if it's a dark night, the exposures will be 25 seconds for me.
Mhm.
So my ISO is up there high, probably 1600, probably 3200.
Mhm.
The aperture is as wide as it can go. So, you know, and if you've got a lens that will give you a wide aperture, like a 3.5 or better if you can, but if you can get that, it's better. So you can still work with it on the computer later. But if you can get good captures right from the beginning, that really helps.
Mhm.
So so yeah, and so 900 photos if they took so if you did a 25-second exposure, and then after that, you need to give the camera time to write that information to the card. So that's 5 seconds. So you can basically shoot 2 pictures in a minute. So to get 900 photos, that's 450 minutes, which gets to be
A long time.
a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So at night it takes a long time to catch enough photos to make that work.
Mm.
So, but it still works. It's just more work. And it's a real challenge for energy management too. It's like when you take photos at night, you know, on my phone, like the default setting, when I take a picture, as soon as the picture's taken, it shows up on my screen. Well, that screen takes electricity. And if
Mhm.
you're on battery, you really want to minimize whatever you're going to do to that battery. So some cameras are better than others. The cameras that I use a lot, the 60D, it's a 60D, it's a Canon camera. You know, I've got the grip added, so it has 2 batteries, and it'll go all night with 2 batteries as long as I have that turned off. That screen, that preview screen. Now my Canon, I have another one that's a 6D. It has a built-in GPS and it has Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and anyways, those things. Even when I turn those off, that camera still goes through batteries. It's you know unbelievable and so you can actually buy what looks like a dummy battery and it goes through a little controller, and then from there you can plug it into a USB power pack. So even the cameras that are a bit of a power hog, you can still power those through the night. You know, when it gets cold, of course, it's even harder. So anyways, that's the case. Sometimes you just, you know, it's just even when you add the second battery with a battery grip, it's not enough. So external power is definitely required.
I
Um,
want to ask you, Tom, like what got you started in time lapse? What was
well,
your interest in it?
Well, you know what? It's interesting. We hike a lot and we paddle a lot, and so for me, coastal things are really a big deal. And when I first right, it was in 2014, I think, when I really started to do this. And there was a show on TV called House of Cards. I don't know if you guys ever
Yes.
watched
Yeah.
that.
Sure.
And they're
Oh, the yeah.
they're opening. In fact,
Mm.
I've got a copy of it because I just think it's so cool. I'm gonna pause it just for a sec. I'll share that. I don't know for
Sure.
anybody that hasn't seen it. You know, it's really interesting. Really
Yeah.
excited me. You know, and so it was like, well, geez, how could I do that? You know, and so I've done a couple of things that are sort of like that, but different. You know, there's other things too. So we talked about time lapse. Hyperlapse is another one
Mhm.
where the camera moves. Like you take a photo and you move, and then take another photo. And if you take enough of them and you do it evenly, and I've got to tell you, good luck with that. It's really hard. If you do it really bad, it'll just make you seasick. But if you do a good job, it's kind of interesting because it's like you can sort of walk really fast someplace.
Right.
So I don't know, it's just in my head right now. So I'm gonna show you one.
Well, we're saying that if anybody out there has any questions, YouTube or Facebook, just post them up here, and I'll be sure to ask Tom.
Yeah. So this is in Little Salmon River, and this is me. I've got the camera on a tripod, and I take one step, and I take a photo, and I take a step, and I take a photo, and it's in manual so that the exposure stays the same. And I'm trying to use the little stuff in the camera through the viewfinder so that I line the camera up the same every time. But you can see that I'm wiggling a little bit, like the level changes a little bit.
Hmm.
So, and this is, I was thinking, how do I show somebody what it looks like to walk up the river? Or in this case, I'm walking down the river. Um, Anyways, it seemed really, really interesting. This was on a September day, and it seems to me it was either the end of September. It was in moose season. So I started out with a hunting vest on. Oh, here's the tide going to catch me, and now I'm standing in the mud. It's like, now what do I do? Because I didn't want to stop. So yeah, so there I am. So I'm getting down to the beach, and it was really interesting because there was some things, every time you go out you learn something new. In this case, I started using the tripod, and that got be really tedious. So what I did is I folded up the tripod, and put the strap across my chest. But it was really warm. It was a really hot September day, so I took my shirt off. So anyway, so here it is. It's moose season, and I'm all by myself. I'm out in the boonies, and I got this. I got the tripod down across my chest, the strap of it. So the tripod's behind me, and I'm taking my pictures, and I was really pleased with this. And then so it finished up, and it was time to go home. And the next morning, I was so sore. My chest was all sunburnt.
Oh,
It was, and I got this white stripe.
thanks, yeah.
So yeah, so anyway, so even if it's warm, you probably should keep your shirt on when you're shooting time lapses in the daytime.
Yeah.
Just because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Um,
That scene behind you there looks familiar to me.
it is, yes, yes, yes.
That night we were out there at Florida Beach last time, or
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, yeah, and I can show that one right now. Yeah, that was really fun that
that was
night.
fun. That was, yeah.
I got to tell you, I felt really special that night. For the folks that weren't there, which is, of course, mostly everybody. A lot of people came to Florida Beach
Mm.
to see the aurora. And as it turns out, they came because Chris posted, Astronomy by the Bay posted that good chance there's going to be aurora. So there was a lot of people there. And so they were, kind of milling around, and a lot of them were having really good luck with their cell phones to get pictures of the aurora. It was amazing how bright it was.
Mm.
And then they, some of them they told me that they came because they saw your post, Astronomy by the Bay, and I said, that guy, he's right there. That's Chris. He's right
That's
there.
the guy. That's the guy.
It was amazing. They were so excited to meet you, Chris. I gotta say that it was
Oh,
just
it was
I felt really good to be able to make that connection for those folks. They
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, that was fun.
that was amazing. So yeah, so this is that night, and you can see the camera's slowly rotating to the right. In this case, I'm shooting 15-second exposures, and it was
Right
so
there.
bright. I
Yeah.
really could have gone with shorter exposures, and got more because it's a little bit choppy, just because. Oh, I'm just gonna look.
But it is appearing a bit choppy with the zoom that we're feeding on.
Yeah, it's hard to say, and with this one, the other auroras that I've shot, shooting them like doing a 15-second exposure or 12-second exposure and then shooting every 15 seconds, that worked really well. And in this case, it didn't. The aurora was so bright,
So
and it
right.
was very dynamic. It was moving really quickly.
Mm.
So so I'm gonna share again another one. So this is also on Loch Lomond Lake. It's in a different location. I don't know if you guys can see that, if it's a whole
Yeah.
screen.
I would see
I see the little pause and stuff at the bottom. It's and this is one of those ones I just left the camera, so I had no idea. I just left the camera there, came back and got it in the morning. Anyway, so sometime through the night, the clouds cleared away, and and the camera was just happily clicking away. So and how I'm doing that, I use for some of you guys will know about this, but I use an intervalometer.
Mm.
So, and it's just it's just a little remote control, and you can use it just as a remote control. You can push the button and it will activate the shutter, or you can like basically program it. You tell it how many photos you want it to take. If you want it to take, you can set it so that it'll do bulb exposures. I don't usually do that. Usually I'll set the camera on manual, like if I want a 25-second exposure or 15, and I'll just get it to trip the shutter, so it'll get the picture started, and then I'll know it's like if it's a 15-second picture, I'll wait 5 seconds, so I'll say 20 seconds. Every 20 seconds, push the button. So that's how it
Time
works.
for your
And
camera to write it to the card too, right?
right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
software do you use to put all these pictures together into the time lapse?
Well, there's a couple of I would describe my workflow as Lightroom centric. So Lightroom is what I use to manage my photos in general. So to begin with, all my photos come into Lightroom, and I'll do things like lens corrections, and I don't do any other edits just yet. And then I use a program called LR Time Lapse. And the LR is not for Lightroom. It means leveling and ramping. And what it does is it evaluates, like if I've got a sequence of, say I've got 1,000 photos in a sequence, it will look at that right in my Lightroom catalog. It'll read it right out of Lightroom, and it will look at the brightness for every photo, and it'll draw a chart for me. And on that chart, I can say, well, I can see here it's way overexposed, and here it's underexposed. So what I can do is I can actually, it's called keyframes. I can identify those frames, those pictures, go back into Lightroom, and I can edit those individual photos that are going to be my keyframes. And then once I've done that, I can go back to LR time lapse and say, read the sidecar files. I forget what the sidecar files. I forget what they're called. Anyways, with Lightroom, it's a little file that's kind of the recipe. It will read them, and it can take them, and it says, okay, well, if you were at +1 here, plus 0.5 here, and you were at +1 over here, how do we make a ramp straight between those two? It will adjust every photo in between to ramp them, and it makes a huge difference. And what I can show you, what I've got a couple that are ramped, and some that are not ramped, and what happens. Okay, ramped. I guess I don't have the one that's not ramped. I have one that's side by side. So I'm gonna just get it to start. It takes a second to load, and then I can share it again. And what this is, there are two videos, and they're side by side, and one of them's ramped and one of them's not. So it means the early on stuff, and you can see this was 10 years ago. So the one on the left is not ramped. I just added +1 exposure across all the photos. And so in the places where it's bright, it gets to be too bright. And on the ramped one, you can see I was down to -3, like on the exposure in places. So, but it means I can change things. So, so the Milky Way is much cleaner. The flashing is actually bits of fog going in front of the light. There's a light, that's the interpretation center at Big Salmon River on the Fundy Trail. So the one on the left, you can see it's getting too bright, like the moon's coming, and if you don't ramp it, you can't fix it. So what I've done with the one on the right is I've actually darkened it down a little bit. So because it's weird, like when the moon comes out, it's like you mentioned, Mike. Like what does it look like in the daytime or the nighttime?
Yeah.
Sometimes when the moon's out, it just looks like it's daytime, except there's stars in the sky, which just looks weird. So, anyways,
Wow.
you can hear,
That's cool.
like one of them's completely washed out, but the other one's not.
Yeah, really see the difference there.
So let's see. I've got a couple of these, where I'm doing the ramping. Like you see, it's bright. Like this camera has got nighttime settings, but I'm starting it in the daytime, so they're way overexposed. But once it gets going and I've ramped it, so I've fixed as much as I can. You get a sense for what it's just. This is when the weather forecast says, "Oh yeah, it's going to be beautiful tonight. That'd be a great night for time lapse." It's like, oh man. And then there's this. It's just, for me, it's like, wow, I just, wouldn't have guessed that would happen after the clouds rolled in. So anyways, really, really nice to see the Milky Way there.
Oh yeah.
Again, I'll remind everybody that these are choppy just because of the network connection I have. I mean,
Okay.
they
Yeah.
run pretty smooth, and we've
Yeah.
seen it at our local club meetings as well. So
Yeah. These when I first started, they were a little bit choppy for me, like for real, they really were a bit choppy. They probably are now for bandwidth. But
You start to
one,
over there a bit, I guess.
sorry.
And that last couple of frames looked like you were getting dew on the lens. Is that what was happening?
Yes, and sometimes it'll be ground fog. It's you just never know what's gonna come, these nights. So now I think this is the one. Remember I showed a picture of the tent on the beach?
Yeah.
where the bugs, massacre me. So this is the camera that's right beside me, beside the tent. So there's the light shining on the thing, because I had to go pee before I got in the tent. And then it gets dark. So there's the Milky Way, and this is holding still. So in the middle of the frame, you'll see one star not moving. So that's Polaris, the North Star.
Right.
So that's kind of an interesting, frame of reference. So you see some fog rolls in, in the tent. I was unaware that fog had come in through the night. So the yellow glow is probably Sussex. That's the direction this is looking. This is a few kilometers downstream from Walton Glen Gorge in the Fundy Trail.
Mhm.
So
That is so cool.
Nice.
yeah, I just love it. It's it's just things that I would never have seen.
Even the fog coming in adds to it. Like
it does. There's all kinds of things that happen that you don't know about. And this is the other camera. So this one is the one that's upstream a little bit from me, and it's pointing down, and me and the tent, there I am, that I'm the bright spot on the beach there.
oh, right on.
And so this is the Milky Way looking towards Nova Scotia. So, and when I take these, you see lots of airplanes going by, but when I shoot like this, there'll be, at the end of the day, there'll be literally thousands of photos, but it's worthwhile going through them. A lot of times I'll go through and I'll see planes for sure. But lots of times, shooting stars.
Yeah.
In this particular one, there's actually, I just remember from this one, there was a shooting star in one frame and it's green.
Oh, wow.
Just a slice of green light. So, super interesting stuff. You wouldn't, you just wouldn't have guessed it'd be there. Remember I mentioned about sometimes it looks like it's daytime. So this one is at Sealy Beach, so it's also out on the Fundy Trail. And in this case, I think this is the one. Yeah, so here you can see it looks like it's daytime, like all of the green is saturated the way you would expect it to be, but there's stars in the sky.
Yeah.
And those lights on the water are fishing boats. They're out at their lobster traps.
Wow.
So they're continuing to work through the night. So it's really interesting. It just completely changes, how you see stuff. I say the moon is so bright. Now there's some fog coming on my lens. So again, it looks like daytime, but it's in the middle of the night. So there's different things, if I flip on a couple of these, they're different things. So this one, can you guess it was windy this night? It's just howling. And the clouds move so fast. I'm just going to jump ahead. I can't. Yeah. So the stars start to show up, and in one photo, I don't think that you would, like it's really hard to identify constellations, but because of the time lapse, you can see,
Orion and Taurus and
yeah,
Ladies sitting there.
yeah, and the time lapse really shows you that. So it's
that is so cool.
so there's just so much stuff there. I think the auroras we did, the nights.
How long did it take you to build up the courage to leave your gear out there and go home for a night and then go and get your gear next day?
Well, and it's funny. I used to be really really brave about doing that, and I'm less I'm less excited to do that just now. It's like it used to be. Like I'd leave my gear at Florida Beach, be like, if you knew me, you'd know I've got two cameras out on the beach at Florida Beach and there's nobody around. I don't do that anymore, just because folks know about Florida Beach now. So so I don't want to tempt anybody, and honestly, I want my camera gear back and I want my pictures.
There you go.
More than the gear sometimes.
What's that?
More than the gear sometimes.
Yeah. But now there are places where I'm out, like on the Fundy footpath, places like I'll go someplace that's just off the trail.
Yeah.
So it's away from everybody else. It's not where anybody's going to go. It's a wilderness area, and
Yeah.
so I can set stuff up there, and I'm pretty confident that it'll be fine. I'm very confident. It's there. It's never not been there for me.
Yeah.
So and some places, as a practical matter, when I don't know, in one of the pictures you saw in my backpack, I've got a frame pack, but for me to carry two tripods and two cameras and two timers and backup batteries for everything, plus a tent and a sleeping bag. And if I'm feeling generous, I'll bring myself some food and water. It's like 60 or 70 pounds.
Yeah, that's
It's a really big load, and some of these places are pretty pretty strenuous. So it's a lot of work to get in there. So lots of times in these really remote places, I'll just stay the night with them, or the day. That one that I showed at Sealy Beach from the two different angles. That was like a 14-hour day.
Yeah.
I went in, set up one camera, went over and set up the second camera, and I had the whole day. I had a third camera, so I could go out and spend the day, shooting photos. Uh, but as it turned out, there was a lady and her son who had just come into Sealy Beach to spend the night, and they really had they had a lot of gear, so they really had kind of a bad experience hiking in.
Yeah.
So I said, I got the whole day to kill. Like so my pack was empty now because all my stuff's out, taking pictures. So I carried, the heaviest of her stuff for her, and hiked back out to their car with them, and took a load off. So it was great. I had time to, to spend, and it was really nice to have somebody to talk to. Other days I'll be out there, and like the one at Goose Creek, where the camera's up on a boulder. I was there the whole day, and I'm actually a fair ways off of the trail. So even if people go on the footpath, I'm about a kilometer away from them. So I could see them in the camera, but it's too far to holler or anything. So it's I'd say it's a long day, but it really goes by if I've got a camera in my hands and I can get out there, and I have time, like I'm completely relaxed, no rush. I know I've got 6 hours to wait for a tide, and then another couple hours for the tide to drop again, enough that I can get past it. So
it's amazing when you look at this hobby and you can see all the different directions you can go in it, right?
it
There's
is.
one here that a lot might not think about is to
Yeah,
time
no,
lapse.
it's
Well, you mentioned earlier, Tom, that you don't use red light that much anymore, but you're really not observing anyway. So
no,
it's really
no.
not important for you to have that red light.
Yeah. No, that's right. That's right. So for me, if I needed to have my night vision, then yeah, that would be really important.
Mhm.
But where I can get away without my night vision, because I'm going to use the flashlight anyway, and then I'll just go away from the camera when it's time.
Yeah.
So yeah. And this is that one at Goose Creek. This is the one I say I'm out there. I have to get there at low tide, so I have to get there before low tide for this shot and wait for the tide to come in. And I've got my night stuff, my star trackers rotating around as because I want to be able to follow the tide. And then at high tide, I need to get over to that beach, and I can't. At high tide, it's flooded, so I have to wait for the tide to drop. So I have to wait till after high tide before I can go home. And so it was, and I knew this ahead of time, so it's pretty fantastic. So
That's cool.
there's just so much to see, and sometimes it's the daytime, sometimes it's the nighttime. And sometimes, I'll just do weird things, just kind of on a, I don't know, how do I, there must be a way for me to mute that.
But we don't hear it. That's okay.
We don't hear here, so yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so this is, I said, oh, reversing falls. I don't know. Sounds like it'd be pretty exciting. So anyway, so this is a 12-hour time lapse that I shot with a video camera. So, and it's like I had to bring like the video camera. I don't have an external battery for it, so I had to bring a car battery and an inverter and set it on a tripod. And so, and then and of course it's right in St. John, so I wouldn't dare leave my gear. This is in like down in from the thruway where I went off on a little side path. And anyways, it was really, really interesting, and then, like Penny came in a couple of times through the day and dropped off some food. And then, I'm going to jump it ahead a little bit. So
Well, the
yeah,
boat's coming through at slack tide, yeah.
yeah, all kinds of boats. And, it's really interesting. I wouldn't have guessed it was so busy there. I just wouldn't have known that. So yeah, so this is the low slack, or almost at the low slack. So yeah, and then on the way out, there's some trees over there. I don't know what they're called, but they have thorns that are like an inch and a quarter long. Anyways, one of them went right into my forearm and broke off.
Wow.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. So anyways, I went up to
What do you do to get that shot?
Like, who'd have guessed? I never guessed there'd be something like that kind of a hazard. I didn't, when I'm scouting ahead, because I love the clouds building in the background. doesn't happen at night, which is kind of interesting. The clouds at night usually blow in. With this, it's the heating from the daytime. So that's
Yeah.
actually, the clouds are up over Grand Bay Westfield.
Yeah.
So anyways, now you can see the tides flowing in. So again, just completely different. I'm just going to jump it ahead. So it's starting on there. Oh, I just went past it. I just wanted to show you there. It's really dramatic. So the high slack, and then right after the high slack, it's turned, and now the river is going to come back out. And it's like you can see a line. It's amazing. When it lets go, it just lets go. There it goes.
Yeah.
It's so dramatic. So yeah, so this was a really fun day, and then I had to go up to emerge, and they couldn't get it, so I had to go in for day surgery, so they go in there fishing in my forearm to get out the splinter. So
There you go.
That's awesome, Tom.
Yeah. So lots of stuff. It is super interesting.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a balance of things. It's there's lots of stuff to do out in the field. And it gives me a chance to chat with folks that I come across, which I'm always like, I got time, so I can take lots of time to chat. And and then when I get back, I'm on the computer, and I'm using Lightroom first. They come into Lightroom. So once I've gone into LR time lapse and done whatever ramping I want, bring them back into Lightroom, I can export them. And I don't know if you guys have done photos overnight. But for mine, when I import them into Lightroom, I add the date to the front of the file name.
Mhm.
And then whatever, like if it was like 0852 is the file name on the camera. So it'll be like today's date would be 2024, 2024, 11 or 12/01, and then 0852, and it'll go. But when it rolls past midnight, my import process changes the date. So when I export those to make a time lapse and I'll use Photoshop for that, I actually need to rename them all so they are a continuous sequence of numbers.
Mhm.
Because if I don't, Photoshop won't know what to do, or it won't know what to do with two separate sequences. It sees them separately. So they have to be like you start off at 0001, and then it runs for however. And then in Photoshop, it's been a little while since I've done it, but as I recall, it's you can open them, file open, and then open as a sequence, and then Photoshop knows you want to turn pictures into a video, and you can set the 15 frames per second or 30 frames per second. You can set if you wanted it to be like a 1980 by 1020, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's really cool. So there's lots of stuff to do out in the field, and then when I get home, when the weather's crappy, I can come in and work on the computer, and there's a whole bunch more stuff to do. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to remind everybody too, like you can go to sjastronomy.ca. That's our website. And on the website, we have a section called members contributions. And in there, Tom has a whole presentation on time lapses and his steps and tricks and tips and things. So thanks, Tom, for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah, well, you're
Fantastic.
welcome. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, also, absolutely. Great to have you on. No, the stunning time lapses are always stunning to me. Here's Bridget Green, who says, I help with some volunteer trail maintenance on the footpath. She said, so amazing to see these areas in time lapse. So there you go. So
Very good. Very good.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
All right, let's go over to Vinyl Bud then maybe next. Mike?
I know, bud. Well, if nothing else, we can time lapse them. Hey, should be up on the screen. So, binocular target of the week this week by Bino Bud is the cosmic question mark. So, what is the cosmic question mark? It's a pretty big asterism in the shape of, guess what? A question mark. It's best visible through finder scopes or binoculars, or even small telescopes with low magnification. There are 5 stars that form the head of Cetus. Take 2 bright stars on the left-hand side, and then draw a line down halfway in between. Guess what? You will find the question mark. So, how do I find it in the sky? Tonight at 10 o'clock, orient yourself 180 degrees due south, look up, and you'll see Taurus. Follow it right down, and that point you right to the head of Cetus. And guess what? There's that far side, right in the center, and you're going to find at that star a question mark. A little closer look, there's the head of Cetus, and guess what? Look, there's your question mark. Tell me you can't see that.
What?
Well, what does it look like? Well, this is a larger version, but guess what? It looks like a question mark. That's what it's supposed to do. 10 by 50 binoculars, it's pretty big. She'll stand right out. So you can definitely see that there's a question mark there. Compared to the full moon, got to be at least 4 full moons in size. So definitely not a difficult thing to look at and not hard to find. And when you look up, you're going to see a question mark. And are you ready for this one? How do astronauts clean up with the vacuum of space?
Oh, God.
R. And that's Binocular Target of the Week by Bino Bud.
Oh, awesome. Question mark.
The question mark, the cosmic question mark.
Easy one to find. Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Right. How about a Rosanna's fun fact, Paul? You ready for
Can
that?
do. Yeah. Okay. Just a sec. I gotta find it. I got so wrapped up in Tom's presentation, I forgot to get it ready.
Maggie says, Tom, you're one amazing guy. Thank you for sharing your work. Gorgeous shots. And Lisa Ann Fanning says, what a great talk. Thanks, Tom. So there you go.
Oh,
Awesome.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're doing amazing work, man. It's kind
That's incredible.
beautiful stuff.
I just gotta find my mail because it's disappeared on me.
Uh-oh.
There it is. I found it.
Funny when we were out there, we grabbed our camera gear and went out to Florida Beach to get the aurora. And you hear this tromping through the woods. Then, hey, there's Tom.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, this is this week's.
Says fun fact.
Yay! Welcome back, Rosanna, for another absolute fun fact. So let's get right into it. So Rosanna writes this week, she goes, hi, Paul. Space news is always intriguing. And Friday, another first ever reached my inbox. Now, let me just get my first photo up first so I can make sure that we have the right. Oh, no, I just lost my picture. There it goes. So it must be here. Oh, where did it go? There's the. There it is. There we are. All right, I'll continue along. So this is the first close-up picture of a star outside our galaxy. Astronomers at the European Southern Observatory's Very Large Telescope Interferometer recently captured this image of a star with a rather exciting name, WOH G64, or whoa, G64, located in the Large Magellanic Cloud over 160,000 light years away. The star is in the process of dying, ejecting dust and gas before becoming a supernova. So you know those neat winky-dinks where something crosses your path magically while you were reading about something similar somewhere else? So WOH G64 entered my email at the same time I was reading about the Sanduleak 69202 in an excerpt from a new book that is waiting for the right click in my Amazon cart. Sanduleak was the progenitor of the first supernova to become visible to us, naked eye, in 4 centuries. This happened in 1987, and the light and the neutrinos from it reached Earth a few hours apart on February the 3rd, 1987. So here it is, or was, a magnitude 12 blue supergiant located on the outskirts of the Tarantula Nebula. So you can see it right there, 1987A progenitor. But hang on a second. Why did the neutrinos arrive before the light? Were they actually going faster than the speed of light? Neutrinos arrive before the light from a supernova because they interact very weakly with matter, allowing them to escape the star's envelope more quickly than photons. So think of, let me get that thing, there we go. So think of a busy mother with a cart full of groceries and a couple of kids running wild around the cart. The kids, the neutrinos, will get to the cashier first because they can escape the process of pushing the cart and interacting with all the groceries. The protons join the electrons to form neutrons. Out of the way, we're getting there first. So the remnants of Sanduleak 69202 are now called SN 1987A, the first supernova of that year. The photos of the expanding ring-shaped remnant of SN 1987A and its interaction with its surroundings seen in X-ray and visible light. Now, it was the first supernova that modern astronomers were able to study in great detail, and its observations had provided much insight into core collapse supernova and laid to rest some of the other theories. 1987A, and this is the photo, 1987A supernova remnant near the center, and it's a composite of two public domain NASA images taken from the Hubble Space Telescope. So what did we learn? Well, we learned 10 to the power of 57. That is, give or take how many protons join with electrons to form neutrons during the collapse of a massive star's core. With them come equal numbers of neutrinos. During the stellar core's last-ditch attempt to retrieve the incredible pressure, a volume the size of the moon will shrink to the size of a city, leaving the outer core at a loss. As the rest of the core tries to collapse inward, even more electrons are thrust into the protons, creating more neutrinos, and the collapse continues. Light, following Einstein's energy mass equivalence, becomes particles and antiparticles, all of which are frantically interacting with each other to shed the intolerable energy. So soon, the neutrino numbers have increased tenfold, now 10 to the power of 58, a 1 with 58 zeros after it. Those numbers and the explosion are hard to conceptualize. So the first time we see the sun in a month, and it explodes. I love that. So we also learned that each one of the neutrinos in the 1 to the 58th power neutrino pack has about the same energy as a trillionth of a crashing dinner plate. Individually unimpressive, but collectively beyond imagination. Inside a supernova is a trillion years of a solar energy yearning to break free from something that is quickly becoming smaller than a city and denser than a mountain per teaspoon. All of this frenzied activity occurs in the blink of an eye. So much is going on that it takes a month of supercomputing time to render just a half a second of activity. Wow. I'll read that again. All of this frenzied activity occurs in the blink of an eye. So much is going on that it takes a month of supercomputing to render just a half a second of activity. That's amazing. We also learned that neutrinos from the Sandudik event arrived on Earth a few hours before the light from the star did. The Earth was sprayed with 10 trillion quadrillion neutrinos, meaning every person alive in 1987 was dosed with about a quadrillion of these energetic subatomic particles. And did it matter? Nope. Not anybody batted an eye. I think I should be back here for that. There we go. However, as we wait and keep an eye on T, Corona Borealis, be sure to set your neutrino catchers. Greenland is ready. High on Greenland's ice sheet are particle astrophysicists searching for the cosmic accelerators responsible for the universe's, I guess, most energetic particles. By placing hundreds of radio antennas on the ice surface and dozens of meters below it, they hope to trap elusive particles known as neutrinos at higher energies than ever before. So here's hoping a trillion, quadrillion come their way and our way soon. And that is this week's.
That's fun fact.
Wow. That was a lot to absorb, wasn't it?
A million quadrillion lots.
Yeah.
It's just amazing what they're able to study. You know, even 50 years ago or 75 years ago, I guess now, when we're trying to even put something up in the air to get it outside of the atmosphere, who thought we'd be studying this stuff?
Exactly.
That first picture you had there, Paul, they might have made a mistake when they interpreted that. I don't know about you, but when I looked at that, the first thing I thought is there was a sun shining behind a TIE fighter.
Could have been.
So yeah, so they may have to reevaluate that data.
They may.
And then T.
Ooh.
Aurora Borealis, so she mentioned that too. I don't know if that's done anything yet or not. T.
I don't know.
Borealis, yeah, I haven't heard. So yeah, we've got to keep an eye on that one too. Anybody who wants to follow up with Rosanna's fun facts, if you don't get a chance to catch them here in the show, she does have a YouTube channel. It's called Rose Art Sky Studio. So ROSARTSKY and Studio. So you can find all of her fun facts over there at that YouTube channel. So check it out.
Yeah, she's actually got these fun facts that I read. They're actually on a YouTube video, and you can actually see the things moving as she's narrating over top. It's really they're really done very well.
Yeah. So thank you,
Yeah.
Rosanna, again for another great topic.
Indeed.
All right, let's get quickly to some photos, and then
Well, before we do that,
okay,
I just
before
want
we
to
do
take 2 seconds because we were going to do a new segment, and it's only I'll be less than 2 minutes because I just wanted to talk about, because we're now in December and it's time to start thinking about little Christmas gifts for somebody in your life if they are an astronomer. The one thing that I'm going to show, and let me see if I've got it. I think I have it right here. I do. There it is. And I'm just going to share my screen one more time. It'll take just 2 seconds to go through it. It is this little guy right here. Let me know if you can see that screen. And you should be looking at a Starfield 8x5 a right angle finder.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Okay. So the only reason I bring this up is because it's probably when you buy a telescope, whether it's a Dobsonian, a Newtonian, any kind of even a refractor, the little finder scope that's on it usually is just straight. And because it's just straight, in other words, this part right here, you see how this is angled? Most of the ones you get when you get your telescopes are straight through. And if you're anywhere near 45 years old and older, bending over and hugging your Dobsonian to get your face on a cold piece of metal, looking up the viewfinder to try to find a star is not a very pleasant thing. So the very best thing you can do for somebody is get their face off their scope, especially when it's minus 20 degrees. So this one here is called a right angle correct image finder. That just simply means what you see through that eyepiece is exactly what you see with the naked eye up there. It doesn't get all reversed image or anything like that. So this is a really, really nice finder, and it'll make all of your finding your images on top of your telescope so much more comfortable and so much easier, and you'll have a lot more pleasant night. You can get these anywhere from $70 to $100 in Canada. And so if somebody in your life has a telescope and they are using a straight through finder, this would be probably one of the best things you could ever do for somebody. And it's a nice Christmas present, and it's priced right for that. So that's my little blurb on that one.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Yeah, we should over the next few weeks we will be mentioning a few more items to take a look at for Christmas presents for others. Yeah, or even for yourself. Maybe you'll just spoil yourself and buy yourself a Christmas present. We can do that. All right, thanks. And let's go quickly to some photos because then we're going to sign off quickly. And give me 1 second here. Just got to bring this one up over here. Okay, share my screen.
While you're doing that, somebody's asking, will Rosanna ever go live? I think she's kind of like our Wilson.
Yeah, she's we've invited her many times, and so she's our Wilson. Yeah, so
We're hoping. We have high hopes.
we always hope. Yeah, for sure. Okay, can we see that one? Okay.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so this one's coming from Kathy Adams.
Beautiful.
And bring up here. Okay, so Kathy says, I played the other night with the new scheduling option in the last Dwarf 3 update and scheduled 3 images of 1 hour each, EQ mode, 30-second subs on the Pleiades, the Horsehead, and 15-second subs on M42. An image each for an hour. Here's her other 2 captures here. Here's her Horsehead and the Flame. Well done, eh? Yeah.
They come right out.
They sure do. And there is the Orion Nebula.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And she said, worked beautifully. I chose these as I had already imaged them in Alt-Az and knew how they turned out. So some clear nights look like they are coming. Let's hope.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice to see Orion
Well,
back.
that,
Oh, Kathy, really nice. Okay, let's get over to Winston Koch's picture here. This is the Jellyfish Nebula, he said, taken on Friday evening.
yes, sir.
Good job.
Good.
Incredible.
That's a hard one to get, that big star that's above it,
Right,
below it in this case.
below it, in this case, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to manage that star, so we did a really fine job on that.
Good job. They're all nice and pinpoint.
Yep.
Yeah, great job. Thanks,
Yeah,
Winston. Good
that's
stuff.
great.
Keep it up. Keep up the good work, buddy. This one's from Peter McNabb, the Jupiter and the Pleiades he captured the other night. I've had put a picture up saying, go out and have a look. You're going to see Jupiter sitting there just between the horns of Taurus as it is right now. And it will be for the next few months, actually. There's a Pleiades sitting up here nicely as well. Aldebaran is the star here, red orange star. So Peter snapped that one and sent it into the page. So thanks for that.
Very nice.
Mr. Powell's. Is it Mr. Powell's picture?
Yeah.
It is. It is Mr. Powell's picture.
Yeah, just
Pleiades,
before we went
Taurus,
to the
Jupiter,
other night.
Orion. Pleiades, Taurus, Jupiter, Orion, and Gemini. So there's
Gemini.
Orion nicely here. And here's the Orion Nebula right in this area. There's the horns of Pleiades again, or of Taurus, stretching out this way and encapsulating Jupiter for the next few months as it moves across the sky. It's going to stay right in that particular area of the sky, right in this section here. There's Pleiades sitting here nicely as well. So
Yeah.
really nice sky. There comes the winter circle, we call it, right? This group of stars around the outside here. Talk about that a little later on.
You got a pretty nice sky for being right in the dead city of the city, Mike.
It was actually
Yeah,
clear, and I wasn't getting a whole lot of city reflection. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, turned out really nice.
Very nice.
Good stuff. Okay, I'm going to move over from there to Patty Gordon. Got this capture of the Starlinks last night outside of Burton. So
Wow.
I put up a picture about the ISS going over, or a post about the ISS going over, and a lot of people actually captured a meteor that was flying through last night.
Yeah.
A fireball, I guess, greenish blue. They witnessed it all the way from Fredericton all the way into parts of Nova Scotia and down into Maine.
Wow.
When I went online earlier today, there were 13 reports of the meteor being showing up, and I'm sure there were a whole lot more because there were a lot of people talking about it today on the page too. I actually saw a video here that was up on my page from someone who captured it with their camera, their Ring doorbell camera, I guess. So, but anyway, while that was happening, Patty get to see these Starlinks. Of course, this is what they call a Starlink train. So these satellites go up about 60 at a time, are part of Elon Musk's SpaceX program. So he puts up about 60 Starlink satellites at a time, and over the next day or so, depending on their orbit and how much reflectance they have, you'll be able to see them in a line like this. And it, the first time you see them, it's like, what is going on there? Like
I was in Hampton last night shooting the Christmas thing.
Mhm.
And this truck drove up to me and all excited said, I can't believe it. Well, we just saw this bunch of dots in the sky and they were freaking right out, right?
Well,
They had never seen the Starlinks before.
yeah, the time we were at Jim Stewart's house and we saw them for the first time, it was like somebody's
Well, it's-
invading us. Yeah, it was. We
Quite,
had no idea.
it's quite interesting to see them when you first see them for the first time.
They are for sure. So you may not see them every night, the same group, and actually they start to spread apart and they take their position in orbit around us, of course.
There you go.
But there's about 6,000 up there, I think, right now, and I think he has permission for 30,000 total. So it should be a pretty crowded sky here after a bit. But anyway, they are pretty neat to see and pretty interesting to watch for sure. So thanks for that, Patty.
Yeah.
And Mr. Owen, get this one here of your Pleiades, sir.
Yes, sir. I decided to play around with some astro imaging. I haven't done it in a long, long time.
Hmm.
And one thing I'll tell you, you realize is how much you forget.
Yeah.
I haven't done something for a long time. But anyway, yeah, the Pleiades, it's that time of year, so.
Yeah, it's
Beautiful detail in there.
beautiful. Yeah. That's a young cluster star. There's actually about 1,000 stars in that cluster, and apparently it's passing through the Milky Way. But,
Yeah.
we can see about seven easily naked eye, so we call them the Seven Sisters. But
Yeah.
there's
They
quite a
say
few.
that the cloud in that, it's not really associated with those stars. It
Hmm.
just happens to be in the line of sight of it.
In
And the
fact,
stars are that bright that they'll actually reflect and give the reflection nebula.
Hmm. That's pretty spot. That's beautiful in binoculars. If you want a binocular target besides the moon, try this. And
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to spot because it looks like a little mini dipper coming up in the eastern part of the sky now, just after sunset. It'll arise before Orion, but
Don't
it's a
steal my
beautiful.
Bino Buds now.
No, no, that's a premiere to go ahead with that. And I had to throw this guy in. I know it's not really astronomy, but this was some fantastic shot, Paul.
Oh, thanks.
This is my hero. This guy, the pterodactyl.
Oh, yeah.
Reminds me of it.
No,
Just
it's a
fascinating.
blue pterodactyl.
Yeah, just a fascinating character. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just something that
What a fantastic image.
yeah, unbelievable. And I
Yeah.
had to grab a couple other ones here too that Paul
Yeah.
does. I mean, there's more to astronomy. It's all natures too. So this is the stuff that Paul dabbles in as well. But just
Yeah.
fantastic color and fantastic clarity in that.
Yeah.
Nature's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, amazing. And we share the earth with all of them. So here we are. Look at this guy in flight. Yeah, so amazing shots, Paul. They're just incredible.
Mm.
Yep, they really are.
All right, so let's go. Let's go ahead to what you guys can do. Now we had some cloudy skies this week. I forgive you this week for having cloudy skies, but we got some clear skies coming up, so there's no excuse for not sending in some photos. I want to see lots of photos next week. So you can send them in to astronomybythebay@gmail.com. We love getting your photos and we love sharing them here. So please send them in to us. A couple of things just quickly on what's happening this week. Today, of course, is our new moon. A moon reached its new phase this morning at 2:21 a.m. Atlantic time. Now, new moon phases give us the opportunity to witness those fainter objects in our night sky, those deep sky objects we really like to see without the artificial light pollution that a later phase of the moon delivers. So here's our new moon right here, of course. And Wednesday on now the moon starts as the moon follows across the sky in this path called the ecliptic, and so do the planets. Then every once in a while the moon will meet up with the planets and some other clusters that follow along that line as well. Here's one of them here. On Wednesday evening at December 4th, the moon greets Venus. So on Wednesday evening, look for the thin crescent moon as it greets dazzling Venus, the second and third brightest object in our sky, together. Always a pretty sight and always great for a photo. This would be your view through a pair of 10 by 50 binoculars, so they will both fit in your field of view with the 10 by 50 binoculars. That's looking south-southwest at 5:30. And that gets dark now at 5:30 Atlantic time. So it should be a nice view there. Also on Wednesday, Mars actually meets up with the Beehive cluster. We look for the red planet Mars as it meets Messier 44 or Beehive cluster. And 44 is an open cluster in the constellation of Cancer. One of the nearest open clusters to Earth. It contains a larger population of stars than other nearby open clusters, holding around 1,000 stars. Now, an open cluster is different than a globular cluster. These are stars that are kind of loosely bound together by gravity, but they all kind of share the same section of space. So always a nice target too with Mars and the Beehive together. And Saturday on December the 7th, Jupiter is at opposition. So the giant planet Jupiter reaches opposition. That's a time when our Sun, Earth, and Jupiter are all in a line. This presents us with our best views of Jupiter all year. Jupiter will rise just after sunset. It'll be visible in the sky all night, and it sets just before sunrise. So it's always interesting binoculars and a small telescope. Now keep an eye out for the placement of the Galilean moons, those 4 moons that Galileo picked out in 1610. You can see them through a pair of binoculars and a small telescope easily, and the positions of those change each night. So that's a great thing to share with your family. The kids in their family, if they want to get out and take a look at Jupiter, they can plot where the moons are, go out the next night and check where they are again, and they'll see that this is kind of like a little mini solar system. A little over 100 moons here with Jupiter, but these 4 stand out pretty clearly. So Jupiter's coming up to its best viewing starting this week, actually, and we'll have Jupiter in our sky right into February, March easily. So we'll have lots of time to get a chance to take a look at it. And I think that's about all we have, except for a couple calendars here. This is from Lisa's Lookup, Astronomy and More. You can follow Lisa. Lisa Fanning is on here with us tonight. She puts out this great calendar. This is the December calendar now. We switched into December, so she has all of the events listed for December, all the important celestial events, the dates of all those events, the peak time, translated, this is Eastern time, and she has the peak time of all those events and the seeing tools. What do you require? You get the naked eye, binoculars, or a telescope with symbols here to follow. So you can find Lisa at Ruby Moonbeams on Instagram, Mastodon, Facebook, Threads, and now on Blue Sky. And I've been wondering about Blue Sky because I see a lot of people joining that now.
Yeah.
Getting on that myself. And here's our calendar for the St. John Astronomy Club and the RASC NB. So Kurt Nason puts out this calendar monthly for us. It's a 6-week calendar. It takes us right up to December the 14th. And you'll see here there's lots of events that are happening throughout the 6 weeks. So you can find that calendar at sjastronomy.ca. And you'd be fine to take a look at that calendar because it is pretty impressive. There's lots of things happening. So let me stop sharing here. And that's our talk about that stuff. So
There you
Ta-da!
I think we just have to go to our closing now. So I could go to this one. It's me in the background doing my stuff here. Sorry. Okay. So anyway, that's our show for this evening. We hope you all enjoyed the program here tonight. Special thanks goes out to Tom Raithby for joining us this evening. Thank you, Tom. Welcome back anytime, buddy.
Thank
Fantastic work you're doing there, and keep up the great work. We enjoyed it. And I'll see you at Florida Beach next time we see the aurora.
you. Yes, probably.
You bet. All right, and if you're looking for more information on Tom's techniques, and head over to sjastronomy.ca and look under the members contribution section. You'll find that Tom has a great topic there with a full presentation on time lapse. Our special thanks too goes out to Rosanna for another interesting Rosanna's fun fact. Thank you, Rosanna. Always interesting. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. And a special thanks as well goes out to our friends who are sharing our program for us, like Trudy and everyone else who shares this program to everybody else out there for us. We really do appreciate it. Remember, too, we do love getting your photos, so send them in to astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'll be happy to put them up on our next broadcast. And a special thanks go out to our friends at Rogers for joining us this evening. So until next week, wishing you all clear skies. As we like to say, guys, open your eyes to view the skies. And can somebody say it for me? No? Helps. Point it up. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
Yeah,
Night.
bye-bye.